You ever notice how some towns just don't want to change, like they're frozen in time by choice? Well, Plainwood's the kind of place where the past hangs heavier than the summer air where folks clutch their coffee like it's armor and nothing stirs except for the wind rattling old signs and the gossip that sticks to you like sweat. They say people here stay, 'cause they're too broke to leave or too stubborn to hope. I know what it feels like to grow up in a place that never wanted you, and trust me, Plainwood never wanted me. You want a story? Here's one for you. Picture this. I'm standing at the edge of a busted-up gas station on a gray, sticky morning, holding a stack of crumpled Flyers Me Last Shot at saving the only thing in town that means a damn to me. See, I run Hope Haven, a shelter for kids most folks would rather pretend don't exist. I grew up here, bounced from couch to couch after my folks died, until my grandma Edna Duff as nails, soft as fresh bread, dragged me back from the edge. She taught me to fight for kids with no one in their corner. And in a town that's allergic to outsiders and even more suspicious of people who look like me, I learned quick, keep your head down, let your work do the talking. But there I was, 28, black as the midnight sky in a sea of sunburned faces, asking for help I already knew I wouldn't get. Every step down Main Street was a walk through a gauntlet of stairsmen with arms crossed, old ladies clutching their purses, teenagers snickering from rusty bikes, always poking her nose where it don't belong. She ought to look after her own, not those broken kids. I heard it all. I felt every look. But you keep going, right? Because the kids in that falling-apart house near the woods, they don't have anybody else. That's when the story turns. I was at the pumps, hot oil in the air, those damn Flyers digging into my palm, when a commotion broke out at the next bay. Big guy, tattooed from jaw to wrist, standing by a battered Harley with a Hell's Angels patch like a billboard. The station attendant was up in his face, red and loud. You people think you can scam your way out of anything. No cash, no gas. The guy tried explaining, his voice low, hands open, saying his mom was sick. He'd spent his last dollar helping some kid on the highway. Thought he could pay by phone. Yeah, that happened. No one cared about his story. Here, your jacket is your sentence. The regulars started filming, hoping for a viral mess. The air was thick with that kind of quiet you get right before a fight. You know what I mean? I stood there thinking, this is another stranger getting torn apart for being in the wrong place, wearing the wrong skin, having the wrong story. I saw myself in that look on his face, the tired, practice calm you get when the world's already decided who you are. And maybe I should have just filled up and left, but I couldn't. Good people looking away is how ugly things stick around. So I stepped up and said, I'll pay for his gas. Silence. Then laughter like I'd just announced I was buying the moon. The attendant snorted, your money, your mistake. People rolled their eyes. Guess trouble attracts trouble. But I didn't flinch. I pulled out money I'd scraped for groceries and Flyers and slid it across the counter. My heart pounded, but my voice was steady. I don't know him. I just know what it's like when nobody gives you the benefit of the doubt. After I paid, the crowd lost interest, no drama, no story. The biker approached, eyes a cold steel blue, voice rough. You didn't have to do that. I just shrugged. Don't worry about it. As I turned to leave, one of my Flyers slipped from the car door, catching the breeze and landing at his boots. He picked it up, read it, then looked at me with a different kind of curiosity. But I was already gone. 3 days later, Hope Haven was still standing, barely, and I was sitting on the porch steps with exhaustion pressing on my shoulders. Inside, the kids were laughing with a few good sounds in my world while Miss Edna sorted through the week's worth of canned beans and hand-me-down shoes. The day was winding down, that golden hour where the light almost makes Plainwood look gentle. That's when I heard the rumble. Not one bike, but a dozen or more, rolling up slow, their engines shaking the dust off the old sign out front. I thought, Lord, what now? The same tattooed guy stepped out first, Jake Rivers. He called himself Broken Wing to his crew, all muscle and tired eyes. He held up my Flyer. You dropped this, he said, as if he'd just found a lost dog. Then he stepped aside and the others started unloading boxes, food, medical supplies, even toys. Turns out, sometimes a little decency catches the wind and finds its way back to you. Jake said, you helped me when nobody else would. Now I'm here to pay it forward. Miss Edna wasn't buying it at first, but even she had to admit rough hands get a lot done. Here's where it gets interesting. The bikers didn't just drop off the boxes and leave. They started fixing the place, up-patching the roof, painting the porch, rigging the kitchen so the fridge would actually keep food cold. Word got out, and the townsfolk started to gather. Not close, not friendly, just watching, whispering, like they were waiting for the real trouble to start. But what they saw wasn't what they expected. Instead of chaos, they saw these men so-called outlaws kneeling in the dirt to help a kid in a wheelchair plant flowers. They saw Jake swapping stories with Miss Edna on the porch swing. They saw me smack in the middle, not an outsider, not a charity case, but part of something that actually mattered. Some folks didn't like it. The woman from the corner store called the sheriff, but he just drove by, slow, eyes wide, and kept on going. Others just watched, arms crossed, confusion on their faces, like they couldn't fit what they were seeing into the story they'd always told. The local teens who used to snicker hung at the fence, quiet for once, taking it all in. Weeks went by, and Hope Haven started to change not just the building, but the feeling. The porch was sturdy, the roof didn't leak, the pantry was full for the first time in years. And still, every few days, the bikes would roll up with more supplies and more stories. And little by little, the town changed, too. The same folks who once crossed the street when they saw me coming, now they'd stop at the gate, leave a sack of apples, a bag of old clothes, sometimes even a word of thanks. Not always, but enough to notice. The real twist? At the end of that first month, Plainwood held a town cookout at the shelter. There were folding chairs and cheap hot dogs and kids running everywhere. The mayor, a guy who once couldn't say my name without looking at his shoes, stood on the makeshift stage and handed me a wooden plaque. For courage, compassion, and the heart of Hope Haven. I stood there, plaque shaking in my hands, looking out at a crowd that used to act like I didn't exist. And I realized sometimes all it takes to start a fire is for one person to stop looking away. Jake was leaning against the porch, arms crossed, that lopsided grin on his face. "Not bad for a lost cause, huh?" he said. I laughed, for the first time in a long time. "You ever stop riding?" I shot back. "You ever slow down?" he replied. For once, the whole town listened. For once, Hope Haven wasn't invisible. And for once, I wasn't just tolerated, I was home. But here's the thing: to get too comfortable. Not everyone wants things to change. Some folks say people like Jake are just waiting to show their true colors. Some think I got lucky, that the town will snap back to its old ways once the bikes stop coming. You tell Mado's one good deed undo a lifetime of looking the other way? Can a town like Plainwood ever really change? Or is hope just another word for waiting? So where do you stand? Is forgiveness possible? Or is trust just a fairy tale in places like this? Let me know in the comments, because this story isn't finished. Not by a long shot. Hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications if you want to see what happens next at Hope Haven. Your voice might be the one that tips the scales.